Is my fan really loud?
I mean, I can sort of hear it, but it's not. It doesn't seem that loud.
I'm gonna have to leave it on. It's just so blazing hot here. I can't. Sorry to our listeners for the background noise, but it is a soothing white noise.
Go to sleep.
Any hot news this weekend or week?
I saw that like they announced that they're postponing basically all MCU stuff for the foreseeable future.
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah, it sucks, but I also think it'll make me more excited when it
Yeah,
comes back. Like I do
that's
think
true.
that with like Endgame being as big as it was, I think there was a sense of like a bit of a not fatigue, but like I think they could have done the same thing they did with Star Wars if they weren't careful. Like
Yeah,
multiple
it
releases a
definitely could have.
year.
It could
Yeah.
have gotten played out and like it was already getting a little tiring keeping up before Endgame in a sense, where it's like, oh man, there's so much coming out. It's like a movie every 2 months at one, and so I think like giving them this reprieve will like let them build a little bit more hype and come back with like a bigger boom.
I hope so. I hope that like use the time productively and I don't know. I can't imagine they're gonna change much, but I don't know. Maybe like stuff that hasn't really started filming yet, or things that like are still kind of cooking in the oven idea wise. Like maybe they'll change a bit in response to just like this lull period.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how it changes like the overall story arc of like the Marvel universe, but we'll see.
Do you think there's ever gonna be like any movies made about? I mean, I guess it'll be documentaries, but like just a regular movie, but it takes place during COVID time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It depends on how bad the it depends on how bad the decisions will
Yeah.
get.
Just not even like it's about COVID or anything. It's just like it just sets it in 2020 during this time period and doesn't really address it. And it's just people are just kind of
It's
like,
one of those like movie in a day, except it's like a whole month of just one person in their apartment alone, like going increasingly mad. I'd watch that movie. I feel like it would definitely trigger something, but I'd watch it.
welcome to Strange Conversations, where rock and roll isn't dead. It's just living in the Emerald Isle.
See, I was going for "Living in America" as like a reference to the album and the song,
I
but I
was,
suppose
I
that
did
is.
get that, but I just was thinking in the sense of my recent love of girl band and Fontaines DC that I don't know. Ireland's just got rock and roll right now.
They've
They've
got it in their blood. Yeah, they've been doing it well with bands of late. I guess also in the past too. I'm trying to think. Although the problem is, I think all the bands that I was thinking of in my head aren't actually Irish. I think they're Scottish, and I was gonna say something stupid, but I was gonna say like I think My Bloody Valentine and like the Pastels, but I think both of them might be Scottish.
Yeah, I think so, maybe.
Yeah,
Cranberries, they're Irish.
Cranberries. They're like as much as Zombie gets like like drilled into your brain anytime you hear it, like it's so damn catchy.
Oh,
It is
they're
still a
so
good
good.
song, and I think Linger and Dreams are
Dreams.
so good. Dreams is
Cranberries.
such a good song.
I will die for this statement. Cranberries Dreams is better than Fleetwood Mac's Dreams.
Oh yeah. I'd stand by that.
I don't know. I'm more of a '90s
It's got more than two
fan,
chords in it.
and it's just I love what's her name, the singer, do you know? Of I,
McPhee, right? Something
yeah,
McPhee.
yeah, but just that like her voice is so.
Dolores. No.
It might be
Dorothy?
Dolores, yeah.
She
Maybe
died recently.
she did die
Yeah, that was
recently.
really sad.
Was. I think that they put out like one post-mortem
Yeah.
album. The
Yeah,
reason we were talking about Ireland so much and all their music. Oh, by the way, I'm Austin Kenny. I don't know if we did that.
and I'm Dylan Bennett.
And this week we are talking about Fontaines DC. That's it's hard to say this. Fontaines DC's sophomore LP, A Hero's Death.
And it is a ripper. It is for sure. I know for sure. I like this a lot better than Doggerel. I like Doggerel a lot, but I think this is a better album.
Yeah,
All things
yeah.
considered.
Yeah, so as we said, they're from Ireland, Dublin, formed back in 2017. So they are a pretty fresh band. Their album Dylan just mentioned, Doggerel, was nominated for a Mercury Prize, and that album as well is a slapper. It's a
Yeah.
it was a great debut album. I got to see them when I studied abroad in Ireland. I got to see them before that album came out. So I was ready for that.
Sick.
I was super excited.
Yeah, you sent me Boys in a Better Land, like the single before they even had an album out, and you're like, just saw them live, like check this song out, and I was like, dang, this is sick. I was hotly awaiting that album. I got it on vinyl like very shortly after Doggerel, not a Hero's Death, but I got Doggerel on vinyl like shortly after it came out, and I remember like putting it on and being like, hell yeah, this is really cool.
I did. I got this puppy on vinyl.
I want to
It's
get
on
this
its
one.
way in the mail.
Yeah, I want to get this one. They're hard to specifically like. They have a very like it's like I literally do want to describe it as, and it'll sound weird, but it's literally like their sound is like traditional Irish meets post-punk.
Yeah, it's like
so
Irish
distinct.
folk post
Yeah.
punk kind of.
And
Like
that
there, because
sounds
there's
like
moments that have like that heavy bass, but then there's some songs that are just kind of like Irish folk ballads.
the melodies, especially like the melodies that the vocalist, I believe his first name is pronounced Brian. I want to say Brian. It's like Brian with a G instead of a B. It could be Grian, or it could be. I know Irish names are sometimes spelled real different than they're pronounced because of I guess Gaelic or Irish.
I think that might be pronounced like green.
Well, I'll call him Mr. Chatton. Mr. Chatton, the lead singer, he does the sort of like Marky Smith or sort of like morose, like Ian Curtis, like monotone rant kind of singing really well. But then he also will do in some songs, like especially their slower songs, he'll do more of like traditional sort of Irish folk melody, like singing style, like almost reminding me of like the Clancy Brothers or something like that.
There's some moments though where those kind of that vocal style is a little lost on me, and I think I do like the singer's voice a lot, but there are moments where I don't love it as much. I think
he doesn't have the best like melody singing voice.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think he plays that to his strengths well on certain songs and in certain like styles of singing. And then I think in other instances when maybe a bit more emotion would have sold the song a little more, it does sometimes leave a little bit to be desired.
Like I like the song "Oh Such Is Spring" a lot. I like the kind of instrumentals, but like when the singing starts in the beginning, I was like, I don't know how much I like this one. But then that kind of break into the chorus, I think, is just like really beautiful. When he's like, "Oh, such is spring again," and then the kind of twee guitar comes in.
Yeah,
I love that part, but I don't know the verses of it. I'm not super into.
Yeah, that's a song that I think is an interesting example of a welcome kind of addition to their musical palette in this album that I think stands out to me a little more. There was a few moments of kind of like a more twee sound on Doggerel, but this one for sure has it more sprinkled throughout and like more, I think it a bit better built into like their style. Songs like though I don't particularly think they're like the high point of the album, all of the last three songs are all much slower and a bit more emotive and kind of, I would guess I would call them more twee, just in the sense that they wear their emotions a bit more on their sleeve, and the emotions aren't necessarily like anger. I think that the best of the sort of more twee leaning songs for me on the album, I really like. I noticed that you, Mark, that you didn't like it, but I really liked You Said,
Oh
and
no.
it reminded me of two different things that I think you might find really strange, but I'd like to elaborate after I say them. One might be kind of obvious. It reminded me a little bit of like Slow Dive. It has a
Hmm,
bit of like the twee gaze,
I could
like,
see that.
or Yola Tango a little bit, like not heavy shoegaze, not like My Bloody Valentine, like layers of distortion, but just like a light shoegaze like effect on top of a more twee-ish sort of song. But then the other thing it reminded me of, like really strongly, like the first thing I noticed, I was like, this reminds me so much of early Coldplay, like
Of course,
Parachute,
again,
or
yet again,
yeah,
Coldplay.
it really did. It really does.
Return
And
to our
not in a bad way,
podcast.
not in a disparaging way. I think that the first two Coldplay albums really have their strengths. I think while they are a bit bland and they are a bit milquetoast and radio friendly, I think they have their strengths. I think a song like Shiver is an especial high point of their early discography, or something like I'm trying to remember what there's a song off. I think it's the first song on Rush of Blood to the Head that's, I think, pretty good. I think it's called Politic or something like that. But You Said gives me, especially in the guitar work a little bit, gives
Yeah,
me some early Coldplay vibes, which I guess essentially is early Radiohead vibes, like first two album Radiohead vibes.
I guess that's maybe
Or
why because I can kind of agree with that Coldplay description, and that's maybe why I don't like it. I just think lyrically and the vocals in that song in particular, I just find really corny, and I don't know. I just don't really like the kind of chorus, like the operating faster, operating. It's just, I don't know. It's cheesy to me, and it doesn't have the same kind of energy as a lot of the other songs. I think it feels a little more out there, I think, than a lot of the other ones. Um, but something about that one, I like skip when I hear it. I'm just like, oh, this is too cheesy for me.
Yeah, I think I was honestly listening to some Slow Dive earlier today at work, and I think just listening to that made me listen to that song with a little bit more like uh patience, I guess, for some of the a bit of a cheese. It definitely does feel like, of all the songs, I think it's like the one that I could see being like the most accessible to people, for maybe the wrong reasons. It's not exactly the most exciting song, but I think it's catchy, and I don't really mind the chorus. I think while it
I
is a little odd. It's for Fontaines DC. I think it kind of really reminds me of a band like Slow Dive or something like that. Like it's
I
got a kind of earnest quality to it.
I could see I Was Not Born being that kind of
I
accessible
see. I
song,
really didn't like that
and
song.
I
I
see
thought
you
it
marked
was,
an X on that
yeah. I just
one.
thought it was kind of like, I don't know. It was like that sort of Irish folk vibe, but it wasn't done in a very interesting way that kind of caught my attention. Like Oh Such a Spring, I thought was done in a much better way in terms of taking like a sort of folksy sort of sound and palette and approach and integrating it into like electric guitars and sort of like produced elements. And I think there was a song on their first album that I liked a lot. I think it's called Dublin Skies, or like Dublin City Skies. Liberty Bell, maybe. Dublin City Sky is also another one, but there's also one, maybe Roy's Tune. It might be.
I
I'm
think
kind of,
I do remember you, I think, bringing this
there's
song up before, and
yeah,
it is
there's one
Roy's.
that's very folksy on Doggerel
Yeah,
that I like a lot, and I
Roy's.
think they do a really good job of, it's both, it both stands out in a good way for being stylistically different, but it still feels like Fontaines DC doing it. I just thought I Was Not Born felt like a kind of a generic-y sort of folk punk song.
Yeah, I kind of liked that generic sound. I just thought it's a fun song.
Yeah.
I can understand why maybe not liking it. So with this album, it wasn't quite what I expected it to be. I'm not sure how you kind of reacted to it, but it was a much slower and softer album than I kind of anticipated. I was ready for kind of this like heavy sort of post-punk sounding album, because A Hero's Death and Television Mind are like probably two of the best songs on the album, I would say. I just think they have like a much more quote unquote post punk sound than the rest of the album. Where I Don't Belong, the other single they released, I think is actually more akin to what the rest of the album sounds like. I wasn't expecting that, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
No,
I was
yeah.
just like the first listen, I was like, huh, this is a little softer than I
Yeah.
kind of thought.
They lean a bit into some of the more slower, morose elements of like post-punk. Like there's more, the songs are a bit slower, but also a bit like heavier. Like the bass is more evident, and there's just a sort of general like layer of like fuzz under everything that kind of like motivates this sense of sort of melancholy over a lot of these songs. Like I Don't Belong is a very like, it's a very sad song, but it's not like, not in a sort of, not in a depressing way. Like it just has this sort of general morose quality about it. But I think the album, like my personal favorite songs on the album are the songs where they do have those like those explosions of like some energy. Like I particularly think that of the three singles, I love Televised Mind the best. But honestly, I think my favorite songs on the album, Televised Mind is definitely in the top three, but I think A Lucid Dream and Living in
Yeah, I was gonna say
America
that's
are
probably
both,
the
yeah.
actual best song on the
Yeah, I
album.
think A Lucid Dream might be the best on the album just because it goes one step further in that it is fast and it's kind of like Hurricane Laughter or like Televised Mind. It's got this fast plotting beat under it that motivates the song, but then they let it kind of devolve into like noisy cacophony a little bit, but they keep it structured. Like it works really well.
And I think the lyrics on that one, that's when he stands out as a vocalist to
Mm-hmm.
me. Is a song like that when it's these syncopated words and he's like cramming kind of these big phrases into these short melodies at times in this, and I think it sounds pretty cool. It's like a little jarring to hear at first because it's he's I guess he's kind of like singing arrhythmically almost at
Yeah.
times on A Lucid Dream, and I just think like instrumentally and lyrically it's like kind of a culmination of what I want Fontaines DC to be in like one song.
It has. It's interesting that you say that about the vocal delivery because I was literally going to say of all the songs, that song vocally has the most similarities that I can think to the way that Joe Casey of Proto Martyr delivers his
Oh
vocals. It's
yeah,
that sort
definitely.
of beat poetry, sort of like arrhythmic, more poetic lyrical style than necessarily like melodic. Like it's kind of like somebody stumbling up to the mic and delivering this like rant over this band going a little bit off their rocker. And it's really
I
cool.
I
It
haven't
just
told you,
creates
but
an
you'd be
intense
proud.
atmosphere.
You'd be proud, Dylan. I have been listening to Proto Martyr, the new
Yeah.
album. What's it? What you call it?
Ultimate
Success
success
Today.
today.
Ultimate success. Yeah, ultimate success today. If I can say it. Yeah, no, there's just a couple like a lot of the tracks on that really really bang, and I can
Yeah.
definitely I was waiting for that comparison because it's I mean it's been a pretty solid year for post punk. I feel like a lot of the albums we talk about we give the old post punk stamp, and
Yeah.
we got a lot more coming up too.
I think what's interesting, I think the vocal style, like the more I think about it, so Fontaines DC is on Partisan Records, who are a UK based record label, but they're probably best, most well known label mates are Idols, who are another UK post punk band who I think a lot of people have probably heard of Idols at this point. They're kind of like a buzz band in terms of like guitar bands at the moment. Um,
That'd be a great tour to see
Oh, they went
Fontaines
on tour
DC and
together.
Idols.
Apparently, they did.
Oh,
When Fontaines DC was gearing up to release Doggerel, they were opening for Idols when they were
that's a
on
great
tour.
show.
Yeah, that would be insane. But what I was thinking, I think that if on one end of the spectrum of like vocalist styles, you have Joe Casey as like the rambling sort of beat poet, like not on the beat, sort of just like not rhyming, kind of loose and less.
A Nick Cave sort of.
Exactly, like something like that, like something like Nick Cave or Marquis Smith, like less singing and more kind of just delivering this like poetic, like lyric over the music. If that's one
Poetic
end of the
jumble.
exactly, if that's one end of the spectrum, and then on the other end you have not necessarily just like straight up singing to the melody, but you have like this sort of rhyming chant, like sloganeering of someone like Joe Talbot. It's interesting that their first names are both Joe. Joe Talbot of Idols. Like Idols, I always think of like they have just like they have slogans. Like their songs are always like slogans that you like they repeat and they rhyme and they get in your head and like they're catchy as hell, but they're not necessarily like off the beat. They're not like super complex. They're just like they just hit like hard. It's like a hammer, like on the beat every time. I think Mr. Chatton, because I still don't know how to pronounce Gryan or Green or whatever. I think Mr. Chatton is like in the middle. Like he bounces back and forth from those two things. Like I think of like Boys in a Better Land. Like that's definitely just like that's kind of like the Idols delivery. That's like Boys in a Better Land, talking about Boys in a Better Land. Like that gets in your head. But then something like Lucid Dream is kind of drifting more towards the sort of like beat delivery, the kind of like poet delivery, this sort of rambling, shambling, drunken Irishman kind of vibe.
Another fun song on the album is Living in America.
Yeah. That song hits differently with what we're dealing with right now. I'm sure they wrote it with that in mind, but man, that song is like, that just hits the nail on the head.
This was a super timely album.
Yeah.
In my opinion. It hit great, definitely. I was gonna also say too, this is a little off topic, but we've just been talking a lot about like lyric delivery and stuff, and Fontaines DC doesn't do it a ton, I guess, but one style of vocal delivery that I love and have just been listening to a lot recently is sort of that the Life Without Buildings style. It's like the repetition of phrases and things like that. I think Ott does that a lot.
Gloria in chapter 9 and Gloria in chapter 10.
It just kind of like keeps hopping back and forth and like beautiful weather today, or like Girl Band, another Irish band.
Except he's like a deranged person, like locked in a rubber room, just like screaming over and over again. He does the same. I've noticed he has the same, and I'm forgetting his name, so I'm just saying he. But the singer of Girl Band, he has the same sort of vocal inflection that he uses in a lot of different songs. Where it's like it's like what is it? God, it's on like the tip of my tongue. It's yeah. Like it's that sort of like that peak and then down, and it's interesting to hear the bass player will sort of mirror that a lot. Like the melody of those songs are often like in the bass. Like I think of like Paul, like the yeah. There's a lot of good bands from the Isles.
Yeah, Girl Band has really been slapping hard recently. I was sleeping. I know you've been recommending that one for a while, and I was kind of sleeping on it, but that EP is probably one of my most played things recently.
It's just pure. It's like 20 minutes of just like pure excellence.
Yeah, it is. I like watching the live performances of them as well.
I got to see them live.
Oh, really? When?
Yeah, they came to DC and they played at a place called Songbird, which is really cool. The basement is a real small venue, like literally like a maybe 200 person venue. The upstairs is a cafe and a record store. And so it's like super sweet. It's open during the day. I mean, obviously like not now, but like when things were normal, it's like open during the day. Like you can go get like a coffee and a sandwich and just like flip through records. And then they have this venue in the basement, and I saw Girl Band there, and it was the loudest fucking concert I have ever been to. I could feel like it felt like the room was like I was like walking through soup. Like the bass was so like loud, it was like a force. It was crazy, but it was insane.
I texted this to you, but Girl Band is just what I want LCD Sound System to be a little bit more. I don't know. I think the I don't know his name, but the front man of Girl Band, he just kind of has a similar vibe to James Murphy.
He looks like him too. Like he looks a little like him.
It's just that awkward guy standing there with the mic, like yelling his heart out. Where I just kind of like they have some just super dance punk songs, I would say. Like
have you ever heard of Liars?
Liars.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
You're,
yeah,
have you ever listened to that first album, like the white one with the with
yeah,
the box on it? That
yeah.
sort of like has kind of that like dance punk vibe.
No, for sure. I love that sound, and girl band slaps hard with it. Why They Hide the Bodies Under My Garage, I think is such
Yeah.
a
That's actually, I didn't even know until like I literally looked it up. That's a cover
oh
of
really?
like, yeah, of a literal like house music song. Like it's a literal like it's
That makes
by like
sense.
an electronic music like artist. And they do such a fucking crazy cool cover of it. Like it's got that like club like drum and bass beat.
It just blows my mind at times too, and I'm like, wow, guitars and like
Yeah.
basses are making all of these noises too. They do a great job of doing that.
Yeah, the bass player on some of the songs plays with a beer bottle on his finger as a slide. Yeah, and it just makes like the craziest fucking sound.
That's the most Irish way to play guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. This Fontaines DC album has a few kind of like sound explosions too. I mean,
Yeah.
we mentioned it on A Lucid Dream, um, and Living in America has it as well. Another critique I have on this album is I feel like it kind of putters out at the end,
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh
honestly.
yeah, I think so. I think the last three tracks after Living in America, like I think Living in America, it puts so much momentum like into the ending and then it immediately sort of kind of doesn't know where to go with that momentum.
Yeah, it doesn't really like end. I think like No is a really beautiful song. It's a nice.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
don't know. It's like a cool Irish ballad. I think
I
it's just
thought it
not
needed
placed
more.
well.
It really had a good hook. Like the melody was really good, and I genuinely liked the instrumentation, what was there. But I kept thinking, I was like, oh, here's where the rest of the band's gonna come in. Oh, like here's where the song's gonna like it's gonna develop a little more. Like drums will come in, like there'll be more built to this. But it never really did. And I'm okay with there being like stripped down songs, with there being like, an acoustic number or like just a number with just the vocalist and the electric guitar, but it didn't really feel like it fit. Like it really felt like it was a song that was missing certain elements. And I kept thinking they were gonna like drop, but then they didn't, and then it just ended, and I was like, oh, that was the album? Like that was kind of an anticlimactic ending.
I can appreciate a like a soft song ending it, but I feel like it needs a heavy banger before it
Yeah.
to justify it ending that way. And Sunny is just I honestly don't remember too much what it sounds like. It wasn't a super standout
Yeah.
song to me, but I just think Sunny into No, it's just kind of like a lull of an end, and having something like Televised Mind maybe before No, or
Televised Mind, my only problem with that song is it ends too freaking early.
yeah,
They bring in that really weird broken up guitar lead. Like the guitar is doing the normal lead and then suddenly like he clicks on a pedal or something and it starts doing that like fluttery, broken, sort of scratchy sound. And like I'm like I want to hear like 2 more minutes of like this. Like go off. Go off. Like let yourself go off, and then it just like it fades out, and I was like, oh no, come on, I want to hear that.
yeah,
That's just my personal qualms with it though.
yeah. I think it's a great album, but I think the pacing of it is a little off. Is would be my overall complaint about it. Is it has some really standout banging moments, but then there's just like these in between songs, I guess, that I'm not as into. They don't have a lot of the energy that some of these other songs bring, or a
Mm.
lot of like the creativity. I think sometimes they can get like a little stuck in their inspirations. And I
Mm.
think, it's interesting. I think that we both marked like I Was Not Born and You Said as songs we didn't like, because I would say those are the most like creatively lacking songs, in a sense
Yeah.
where they're just really sort of pop indie rock type
Yeah.
of songs that don't really take any leaps or bounds that are super exciting like a lot of these other songs do.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. I think what I liked about You Said was the familiarity and like the clearly identifiable influences, but it definitely is not a song that is taking like too many risks.
And
And I
then
think that, yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
it's the same for me with I Was Not Born. Like I think it's a fun, catchy tune, and I like where it's coming from. But it's just like, oh, this is fun, but they're not doing that noisy stuff. His vocals, his lyrical delivery isn't anything like of note. It's just like a catchy, guitar driven, jangly kind of tune.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an album. I wouldn't say it's an album of high highs and low lows. I think it delivers really strong songs. I think it has probably more good songs than it has bad songs. I really wouldn't say that there's no total stinkers on this album. I think
No,
there are just maybe a handful of songs that don't really pique my interest, and I especially think that they just happen to be in like the very end of the album, so it leaves me with like a full listening experience. It leaves me feeling a little bit like I haven't gotten a complete like final thing. Like I don't like the album ends and I don't really feel like the experience has like wrapped up neatly yet. It doesn't, to me, the arc of this album, I think it's a sequencer thing. I think this is another album I'd throw in the pile of like needs to be resequenced, like
yeah.
song order change.
I mean, that could be in a weird way what they were going for, in the
Yeah,
sense where the album is a hero's death, where maybe it's something,
it's not supposed to be epic. Like it's not
yeah,
supposed to be. Yeah.
like the epic songs are kind of in the middle of it, in the beginning of it, where it's more of a sadder end than we expect, and maybe where we just want the banger after banger kind of layout, or not, I don't
Yeah.
know, just yeah, I don't know. The pacing just feels weird to me on it. Like, and I agree. It doesn't have like moments where I'm like, oh, this like a. I think you said it. That's a song I kind of do skip, honestly. Um, it does. It just kind of go. There's just moments that kind of go by, and moments that you're like, whoa, I need to know what this song is.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think overall I think maybe maybe it's I think overall I would give it just like a slightly better rating than Doggerel. I think they're both very good albums. I think
Yeah.
they're amazing showings from such a young band. Like 3 years is really crazy to think about. Two albums within those 3 years and two really really solid
Oh
albums. Like I
yeah.
feel like a lot of my bands that I like, I think about as being new contemporary bands, but then I'll always go back and look at their like when their first album come out or when did they release their first EP, and it's always like it's like, oh no, this band has been around for like more than 5 years, more than 8 years, almost more than 10 years, some of them. And the fact that Fontaines DC has only officially been around since 2017, it's just wildly impressive that like they have this kind of fully formed cohesive identity already that's clearly like pushing and changing in new directions, but still is like very, it's very unique. Like they have this unique sound that I think a lot of like early bands don't always necessarily have like fully figured out right away.
And I think they did a great job of pushing themselves on the second album too, and
Hmm.
not just doing the same exact sort of Irish. Like Doggerel, I think has more of the Irish folk punk to
Yeah,
it, where I think this has more of
more of the
not
post
even
punk.
folk punk, more just Irish folk, and then
Hmm.
some post punk elements like along with that. So I
Yeah.
think it's an interesting kind of turn, and this is a year after almost, right?
Yeah, it's crazy to think like I was reading up on like the writing process for this. Like a lot of these albums, they were writing either while they were writing Doggerel or they were writing while they were like touring, and they
That's
would just like
crazy.
on the road be writing these songs. I guess like I'd imagine. I mean, I fucking like wish that the world was normal so that I could like experience playing with other people again. But I
Yeah.
imagine that while it seems like touring is probably really exhausting, like it certainly I'm sure is insanely exhausting. I bet smart bands that work well together, that are like all friends, that aren't just touring to like make money, that are touring because they love it. But there's a lot of creative energy that flows around while you're constantly playing every night, improvising every night, trying new things. Like I bet a lot of that gets funneled into like writing new songs and like wanting to write new songs while on the road, while playing, while sound checking. And I'd imagine a group of guys that, or just a group of people that get along like super well making music for the right reasons, the creative energy that must just like buzz about them while touring with other bands, like in other cities, meeting other people. It must be like absolutely insane. Maybe one day it'll be back.
One day, we can only dream. Before we give our final verdict on A Hero's Death by Fontaines DC, let's talk about some other stuff in music, because there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on.
There's a whole host of hot new singles in the area.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a lot of singles in the area I've been excited about. I think we've been at like album release phase for a while, where a lot of the singles we were talking about in past episodes were finally coming to their full birth of an album. And now we're back at that point where bands are the bands who weren't releasing an album in the first part of the year are starting to announce their kind of like end of summer, fall releases. So it's getting exciting.
Yeah, now we're getting towards like, it seems to be that early summer is supposed to be like a big album release time, like May, June, but a lot of stuff got pushed back. And so we've seen like the tail end. We're seeing now the tail end of stuff that got pushed back. But then it always seems again like September, October is a big album release time. And so now we're getting like the next round of singles from those like September, October like announced albums. I know that OCs basically are at a regular schedule where like I think it's usually like every mid-October, like on the dime, it almost seems like they have an annual album come out. And it seems like this year is going to be no different. That's probably, I don't think it's my favorite OCs song really by a long shot, but I'm excited to see what the album will be like.
I realize I spelt the name wrong on the episode notes. They've rebranded.
Yeah, they're no longer the OCs. They are just simply the letter O, C's.
What do you think this means for the band, Dylan?
Well, one of the directions that they've been going in that I've actually kind of been excited for, I want them to like fully commit, and they haven't really yet, except for they released a album simply just called, not really an album, it was more of like a double-sided 12-inch, but it was just called 12-inch Synth, and it was literally just two songs. Each side of the 12-inch was a song, and it was like each song was like 25 minutes long, and it was just like really weird kind of krautrock synth instrumental jams, and they were cool. They were like, it's definitely not like the most energetic like bangers, but they're really cool kind of more experimental, spacey, exploratory music that's like nice to just like listen to. Like it's fun to kind of put it on for a long drive, or like if I'm going to be like working or something or relaxing, it's cool to listen to it. And I'm hoping that they start to go away from the sort of just jam bandy stuff and more towards like really getting out there, and like seeing John Dwyer starting like a jazz band with one of the members of TV on the Radio makes me think like, oh shit, like maybe he's doing it. He has Damaged Bug, which is like his solo synth project, which like I just want to see Damaged Bug get folded into the OCs more. And I'd be totally willing to see like an OCs album with no guitar on it. Like do the full band, but like make John like have to rely on synths, because they have a synth player, but it would be cool to see both of them do synths at the same time. Their synth player is Mr. Mermaid, who also has a couple of solo albums, and they're cool. They're kind of like synthy garage rock, and I think he fits well into the band. But I'd like to see some of that like dueling synths, layered synths, more sort of krautrock, sort of dark psychedelic elements. And this song is, I think honestly, like if I'm being honest, I think Dreary Nonsense I think that's honestly a fitting name for the song, because I think this song is pretty fucking chaotic, almost to the point of it's sort of unlistenable for me.
I call it, what it makes me think of, and the first song off their last album.
Oh, yeah.
Smoke Reverser kind of makes me think of it too,
I know
where
exactly what you mean. The
it's
first
got like
single
this
they put
rubber
out.
ducky kind
Yeah.
of sense to it. It's like rubber ducky rock, where it sounds like one of the instruments being played is like
Is a toy.
a
Yeah.
toy, like plugged into some amplifiers.
Yeah, and it's
And
really
it's
annoying.
weird. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like this is a short song though. It's only like a minute and 43 seconds, but it is just like a lot in
Yeah.
that short
I
time.
love the album art. I will say
Yeah.
that. I think the
Right.
album art is really freaking cool.
Yeah, the
But
album's coming out in September, I want to say.
yeah, I think late September. Um, but I was absolutely enthralled with that rehearsal that they did. The one that was like all the mystery songs, like where they basically
Yeah.
just like ran through what everybody thought was going to be the album. And I remember in the back of my head, I was constantly thinking, I was like, this is their live set. This is how they're going to play the songs live. They're stripped down. They're more energetic. They're like, they don't have all the production stuff. I was like, please, for the love of God, don't go into the studio and add a bunch of dumb shit and a bunch of like weird effects and just things for the sake of things. And I think they just did that with this song. I hope they don't do it with every song, but I think this song just has too much shit
Have
going
you
on.
cross-referenced to see if it
I've
is a
tried
song?
to find it. I'm in an OC, we're both in the OC's fan group, and I think somebody found it and found that it is actually in that set somewhere. I just haven't gone back to like listen to the live version
Huh.
yet. I need to go and listen to the other live set that they released that's like the
The one that I
improv live
sent
set.
you?
Yeah, I haven't listened to that at all yet, but I really want to know what that's like because I'm
It's
hoping,
wild. It's
yeah,
really just like it's noise for like
yeah.
20 minutes. It's
Oh,
not
that's
like
fucking dope.
any melody. He's just like it's the synth player, Mr. Mermaid, and John
Yeah.
Dwyer just doing some noise stuff.
See, that's
It's not
cool.
like
Yeah.
a intense noise either. It's very
Yeah.
like background
And
chill.
that's exactly like what the 12-inch synth is like. I recommend if you haven't given it a listen, like the next time you have each song is 20 minutes. So like the next time you just have like 40 minutes where you're like, I need to write some stuff or I need to like, just like have like I need to take a break from like my mind being on music and I need some nice background music. Put on the 12-inch synth. It's really cool, just sort of like really chill, spacey, probably pretty good if you like smoke a bowl while doing it. But it's just a nice 40 minutes of like cool, interesting, but not super super crazy intense like noisy synthy music. It's very soothing, very kind of, but not in a lulling like boring kind of way.
Staying over in California, another garage psych rock band with a hot new single is Fuzz. Their next album, I think it's coming out later this month, maybe. I don't have a release date in front of me, but the single's called Returning, and I haven't listened to it a ton, honestly. I haven't been in a huge Fuzz mood. Fuzz is like one of my favorite Thai projects, but it's like some intense kind of the thing I can equate it to the most, I would say, is like Black Sabbath, but a little bit
Yeah.
more fuzzy and psychedelic. Um,
Yeah. The
but
one thing, the
it, it's
one
it's pretty solid. It's nothing fancy, but some really terrible
Oh
albums.
yeah, I was gonna say I haven't had a chance to listen to this yet, so I can't make any comment on the music. I do really like Fuzz, and it seems like from your take, it's like not super different from what their like other stuff sounds like, so I'm sure I'd like it. But man, oh man, is it? Do we think that it's deliberate that
I
like
just
the album art is so cheesy?
I hope to God that that's not the final album
It's
artwork,
so bad.
because they like their other two album covers I think are sick. They're
Yeah.
just
Oh
like
yeah.
the
And even the
crazy.
EP, like the Sunderberry Dream EP or a single has such a cool like if they want to be the three of them, like a picture of the three of them on the cover. The Sunderberry Dream album cover is so cool. I love
This
that like fadey like look.
this looks like fresh out of Hot
Oh
Topic.
yeah, this looks like 2007 like screamo goth emo shit like oh
they
bad.
they look
It's
like photoshopped together too, which is
Yeah,
weird.
I
Like it
think
doesn't
they
even look
were.
like the picture was taken together.
I don't think it was. I think it was literally someone was like this was either like rushed, like they were just like the album art guy, they're like, "Come on, like give us something. Like it's got to be done. Like we're putting it out today." and he was like, fuck, I don't have anything ready. And he just threw this together, and they had no time to be like, this looks like ass, or it's a joke, and they're doing this on purpose. And I guess we'll see
Yeah.
if like maybe this album it will be like maybe it'll be like hair metal themed, like maybe it'll be sort of like a cosplay fuzz
Yeah.
album.
I could see that. But yeah, it's just a classic fuzz sounding song. Nothing crazy, but you know, I'm ready for some more fuzz. I was bummed. I was supposed to see them in June.
Oh
But, you know, everything's canceled.
yeah, I was supposed to see Proto Martyr in June too. Boo hoo.
Some other hot singles. We got what's interesting, three of these singles are covers.
Yeah,
Um
the
I'll,
age of cover.
yeah, I'll go for the first one. The band Heinz, not to be confused with Haim. Heinz is a Spanish garage rock band, I guess I would say. But they released a cover of Spanish Bombs by The Clash, and gotta say, I think I like it more than The Clash's version.
They do some crazy good covers. They have a cover
Yeah.
of Davy Crockett, which
Oh yeah, I
Ty
can see
Ty has
that
done
being
that
great.
before. Ty has a great version of that, but their cover of Davy Crockett is really really good too.
They do a really great job of kind of like the singing, like passing off
Yeah,
verses and
it
stuff
sounds like
because
you're at a house party.
yeah, there's just like a
it's
lot
like
of them
everybody
singing, and
just
it's like
singing.
this person to this person, and it just bounces around. And this Spanish Bomb does that, and because they're like from Spain, like I don't know, I think it just it adds more gravity to the song, what they're singing about, and their pronunciation, and they sing some of it in Spanish too. I guess because the Clash did that sometimes, but um, it's a really awesome cover, and I would recommend checking it out. It's just it's a fun like summer banger kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip the cover. I'll let you talk about the Black Marble one because I honestly forgot that this album was coming out. I haven't had a chance to listen to it, but the Big Joni cover of Solange uh, is one that I don't think either of us have listened to, but I'd like to listen to it because you added a Big Joni song to one of the playlists we made in the past, and I had never heard of them, but I started listening to their stuff, and it's really good.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
like
Beat Happening
yeah,
kind
it's
of.
so cool. It's like an odd mix of like garage rock, twee, and like British sort of like British punk, British post-punk. And they're three women of color, and it's just like very, very catchy, but like also like not. I don't know. They mix like they
It's like
mix a
Parquet
weird.
Courts, you know. It's
Yeah,
like it is
exactly,
catchy, but it's not.
exactly. That is like actually like perfectly puts. It's like they have like anthemic, catchy tunes, but they're like off kilter. It's like pavementy, sort of Parquet Courtsy. Like you're like, why is this stuck in my head? Like, but it's great.
Yeah. The last cover we got is Black Marble is releasing a full covers album and released the second single, Johnny and Mary. The song is originally by Robert Palmer, who I do not know. Had to look it
Isn't
up.
he Robert? Isn't Robert Palmer
From Wire, I want to say
Led
maybe.
Zeppelin?
I don't know.
Is that Robert Plant? That's
That's
Robert
Robert
Plant.
Plant.
Hold on.
I think Robert Palmer might honestly be from Wire or something like that. Let me get a quick Google.
Hey Siri.
Nope, just singer songwriter. Married to Susan Eileen Thatcher. I wonder if
Any relation to Marge?
Maggie.
Old Marge? Maggie?
But yeah, Black Marble's new cover single, Johnny and Mary, is a fun synth pop kind of tune, and I'm excited for this cover album. Great album artwork too. Little baby holding the synth. It's some good old Black Marble fun.
Yeah, I am interested to see what the future of Black Marble holds. Not because I don't know how to like phrase this. I think that Black Marble to remain an artist who I get really excited about. Like I really enjoy his music. I enjoy all the albums he's put out, but I enjoy it in a way where it's like he's an artist that I constantly am sort of like I think because the music is so low key and it's so relaxing and it's like it's so kind of low energy, it's not necessarily music that I get like super hyped about.
Yeah.
I like, but I want to see them do something like really different. Like I want to see them do like a lo-fi like shoegaze album or something like I don't know like I want him to do the opposite of what I want this OCs to do. Like I want him to ditch the synths for an album and like
Hmm.
go with like a band and do like an album with a band, but like do it like Black Marble style. But I don't really know. I just think that 3 albums in with relatively pretty consistent styling throughout. I think album number 4, like cover album aside, I think cover album and then album number 4, like I'd like to see something different. I'd like to see it, like a departure.
I think this album is very much a quarantine album.
Yeah.
I think is ultimately what it is. I feel like it maybe wouldn't have happened had it not been for quarantine.
True. Yeah, I guess everybody's just gotta stay busy.
Yeah, those are the covers. I got one not hot new, but a finely aged single here. If you would like to take a quick whiff of it, Dylan. But in my
it's got a nice rind to it. It's not not rotten, but well aged.
I guess I've kind of been like dipping my toes a lot more into some contemporary post punk. A lot of bands I would say that Dylan you've kind of told me about in the past, and I maybe just haven't fully processed. But the band Squid is a London-based, I'm pretty sure, post punk. I also just saw the description math pop for them as well.
They have some weird songs. They are like they fall under the category of like post punk, but I've listened to the stuff they have on Spotify and like they'll randomly have just like totally odd like
They're like
spacey
Ween.
songs. Yes, exactly. Yeah, actually, yeah.
They're like a more post punk Ween is the best way to describe them. Just like weird funky songs, but they have some absolute bangers.
Yeah.
when
House
they
Plants.
House Plants.
House Plants is so damn good.
So good. And these came out back in June, near the end of June. Sludge and Broadcaster. I don't know if did you mention?
I know I haven't had a chance. I did not see these. These slipped under my radar. I haven't had a chance to listen to them.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're just some, I don't know, Squid. They like I said, they do that kind of Ween. The Ween aspect comes in kind of like the I guess I'll call them external sounds, where it's not like the instruments and stuff, but they do like a lot of like weird synthesizer. Like the name Squid's very fitting because it is kind of like aquatic in a sense, and it has like a bubbly sort of sound to it, like you're.
And I just imagine like all the dudes in the band are just like they're just like squids.
Yeah, they're
like I don't really know what that means, but they just seem like they're just like a couple of squids.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. But Sludge and Broadcaster are two banging Squid songs. It's the type of Squid that I enjoy. Not too overcooked or anything like that. Just the right amount of searing on the Squid.
I'll definitely have to check those out because I've been desperately like wanting and waiting for like something more akin to houseplants, like something that definitely, like it goes out there, but it's not like the whole song. Like there's something that's rooting it, and houseplants just has that like. Houseplants is like a Talking Heads song on like meth.
Yeah,
like, it's just like, and it's got a really really like poignant and like satirical but biting like current like relevant message that I really like it's just like it hits like the soul.
Yeah, it's one of those songs too. Makes me miss the pits, bro. Just being in the fucking pits, man, thrashing around.
Clear the pit.
Have you seen that live video?
No.
They have a live video of them playing Houseplants, and the drummer is the singer of the band.
No shit.
Yeah. And they just like at the part where they're like doing like the noise and kind of breaking before they like come back in with the verse, he's like, clear the pit. But yeah, they're awesome. They've never released a full album, which is also super weird. They only do like singles kind of incrementally.
It'll come. We'll review it and it'll come. Well, I
So
guess it'll come and then we'll review it.
yeah, maybe these
Maybe
are leading
exclusive
into
access.
something more. Who knows? Legend.
Yeah.
But those are the hot new singles that are in our area. If you ever got a hot new single, you can send them to us. The other thing you might know about if you follow us on Instagram is the second bracket we're running, this time focusing on what we have defined to be some sort of foundational artists in the scope of indie rock. Joy Division excluded because we already did an episode on them. But the point of this bracket is one, to see who the fans vote for, but two, to decide what our next classics episode will be. So it's time for another portion of bracket talk.
We're like in ESP, like we're in like a slick ESPN office right now.
We turn in our chairs.
Well, I think it looks like Talking Heads might just be taking it all the way this time, Austin.
I don't know, Dylan. I don't know. The Velvet Underground might put up a fight from the underground that they're not seeing coming, and Iggy Pop could really pop in here and make a scene. If
well,
you know
let's not forget about Blondie. Everybody who's anybody's been talking about Blondie. She's just been having the most meteoric rise through the bottom half of this bracket here, and she'll certainly put up quite the fight for the Talking Heads if they're hoping to take it to the final round.
Before we start getting into some final predictions here, Dylan, what are some upsets in the past here that have really brought you down in the bracket?
I was really sad to see. I was definitely really sad to see a lot of the left-hand side defeats. It just played out in a way where like I knew they were gonna lose, but it was still sad to see The Fall go. It was sad to see Can go. It was sad to see Brian Eno go, and it was sad to see the Cramps go. I think those were the four where like in a better world they wouldn't have to compete with like the Talking Heads and Blondie and the Velvet Underground, but like you gotta get the Giants on the bracket. Like they're Giants for a reason, you know.
Yeah, I will say I did vote for The Fall. In the sense where, for me at least, I think The Fall is a bigger band for a lot of more of the bands I enjoy. I mean, I guess the Talking Heads are also just as much of an influence, but I don't know. I think more of the indie rock bands that I'm into, I think like the 90s kind of bands sort of draw a bit more from The Fall than they do the Talking Heads, and so I kind of had a feeling they weren't going to make it through. Actually, a lot of the bands up against the Talking Heads, I always like gave a vote to because I was like, you're probably going to lose, but I'll give you my hats off. Like,
let them go down fighting.
My salute.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gave Television, Wire, and The Fall all a vote in their battle against the Talking Heads because I knew it was a great one. But with enough spirit, could have been
to flop. We salute you.
On the right side too, honestly, it played out a lot how I sort of expected, but I was sad to see the Modern Lovers go. I didn't expect them to make it very far, but I love Jonathan Richman. They're just a fun band. They're a good time. When you're in the New England area,
you kind of just like you're contractually required to listen to Roadrunner if you're driving through any part of New England. Sorry, that was just me opening a door. My cat was trying to. He wants to get in the office. Yeah, I've got an office now. It's pretty serious.
Yeah, we've made $1, so we're making some big spending decisions now. Yeah, but really Blondie, I think, has honestly been the biggest surprise contender. I mean, I knew Blondie was popular, but one thing I was kind of curious about was, is our follower base, is our fan base going to maybe not be big Blondie fans, but I really thought Brian Eno was gonna be one of the
Yeah, we had
final four.
so many people just like Brian Eno, and like it can't be Brian, it has to be Brian Eno. Bunch
There's
of
been a lot less salt this time
There
around,
has
I've
been, yeah.
noticed, and which is nice. No one's been like,
I
I can't believe this happened.
Yeah. I think I've noticed that we have a camp that has a very predictable voting pattern, and they are the female fronted sort of quirky pop camp. They were the ones putting the B-52s deep into the bracket last time, and I believe that they're the ones who are helping fuel Blondie's rise through our bracket this time. And I don't know if we'll need to send the election police in after them. There may be some fraudulent voting going on, but I guess we'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, but we're really coming down to the end of this one. I don't know what to expect in this final four. It's gonna be a real battle of titans for sure.
Yeah, it really is. I'm excited to do the little cards for these guys. Get
Yeah.
like, get some fun picks. I think if anybody ever wanted to go back and print out those cards, that would be a cool thing to do. Send them to us, make little baseball cards.
Yeah. So go over to our Instagram. We're gonna be posting some facts and figures about the bands coming up in the final rounds here. Go over to our Instagram, strange.pod.convo. Right? That's it? Or
Yes.
strange.convo.pod.
Insta is strange.convo.pod. Website is strangeconvopod.
Instagram is strange conversations cat.cast, I think.
That's the email.
The Gmail, right?
We'll get better at this information relaying part.
If you just go to our Instagram, there's the link that brings you to all the other links. So
hit that link in bio.
It is the ideal place to go. Oh, we also have a Facebook page now too.
Oh yeah.
You can go check that out too. If you're on Facebook.
If you're on Facebook. If you're the person who lives in the woods and isn't them, you'll have to send us mail.
All right, Dylan, let's bring it on home here with the titular Fontaines DC, A Hero's Death. You gonna be listening to this one much more?
Oh yeah. This already has songs that have made it onto playlists, and I can definitely see this as an album that I would definitely buy on vinyl. I'm in the part right now where, because my car doesn't have a working aux cord, and I just don't trust the radio anymore. I haven't been able to find a good like college radio station near me that I can access to get like, the music I want to listen to. I've been relying on CDs, and I managed to steal all my dad's REM CDs, and I happened to have a couple of like 90s bands. Like I had a Smashing Pumpkins CD, I had like Pearl Jam, I had a Nirvana CD, and those like kind of cut it for a little bit. But then I started getting like, I was like, God, I really just want to listen to like something on my iPod like for once. So I got Slanted and Enchanted, I got Velvet Underground and Nico, I got a couple of CDs I stole from Hobart William Smith's radio station. But now I'm buying CDs again. Like I'm going on Bandcamp and getting CDs. It's like, what year is it? What year am I in?
Yeah, I did get this one on vinyl. I'm going to pick it up tomorrow from my local record shop, Bull Moose in Portsmouth. I'm excited to hear the full experience and to just see the whole vinyl set, because I feel like they would put together a nice little packet in the vinyl. So excited to see what it has. And yeah, I'm excited to listen to this album more, because I have grown to like it the more I listen. Like I said, I was kind of caught off guard when I first heard the album, but now that I know what I'm in for a bit more, I think I am going to enjoy some of the songs a bit more. And yeah, I think even listening to them non-sequentially too will maybe improve my opinions on some like the later songs as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is an album that like I've really come around on Fontaines DC Doggerel, the first album. Like I think I was listening to it a lot in anticipation of this one. And I came around on some of the songs that I think the first time I listened to it, I wasn't fully into. Like some of the more Irishy folky songs. I think I thought they were gimmicky before, but now I kind of like I see the influence and and it's cool and I like it makes me want to listen to more sort of like traditional Irish music and kind of understand that half of the coin of where they're like that influence. Because that's like, you know, I can name all the post-punk influences. Like I can kind of, you know, put on it by the drop of a hat because that's like my realm of experience. But besides for like the Pogues and the Clancy brothers, like I really can't think of much Irish like folk music that you know that I could name, and so it kind of does make me want to like go in and do a bit more of a dive into that realm because Irish folk music is actually like one of my dad's favorite like genres. Like I was almost named Liam, but I think they decided that I wasn't Irish enough, and so almost Liam for Liam Clancy, but then I ended up being Dylan for Bob Dylan. So you know,
Pretty
pick one singer songwriter.
Pretty rock and roll. All right, that's all for this here strange conversation. Next episode is going to be the classics one, right?
Oh yeah, man! Already, hot damn! No
yeah,
way.
This rap bracket's going to be wrapping up. This is it gonna? No, shoot, we may have messed up the timing a little bit. We might have to figure out.
Well, it will because we can get the finals, the semifinals wrapped up before the weekend because we'll have Thursday and Friday, and then we could like have a day. This is just planning. We'll cut this out.
Yeah, we'll plan. We can plan. Once we stop recording here. But yeah, so we got to figure out what next episode is. This has been Strange Conversations. I'm Austin Kenny,
and I'm Dylan Bennett, and we're gonna die heroes.
This is our hero's death right here.